Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for All About Android is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by SmartThings, the easiest and most affordable way to create a smart home. Protect and control your home from anywhere with no contracts or monthly fees. For 10% off any home security kit, visit smartthings.com/twit and use the code TWIT10 at checkout. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used Samsung, HTC, and other Android devices are worth at gazelle.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of All About Android, episode 168, recorded on Tuesday, July 1st, 2014. We're your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
I just broke my eye patch. I'm Ron Richards.
I'm Gina Trapani.
I appreciate the solidarity, folks. For those of you who are not watching the video, oh, thank you. And Chad, we have guest technical director Chad.
Look who's back.
Hey, guys. Hey, how's it going?
Welcome back, sir.
I'm back with an eye patch.
With an eye patch. Apparently, we're all done.
Now I'm back. I'm back on board. There you go. Oh, wait.
Oh, man, phew.
I guess this is right eye.
This just wasn't gonna happen if we weren't all wearing eye patches for one glorious minute.
Solidarity. Even Gina. Virtual eye patch.
Even me.
Look, you do what you got to do.
That eye patch moves funny.
I won't go into any detail except to say I hurt my eye and I'm wearing an eye patch. And these guys are all awesome for wearing an eye patch as well. And Brian, actually, our technical director, is getting married. Is that right?
He is getting
this
married.
Weekend,
That's the
right
word.
now?
That's the word. Yep.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
There we go.
Oh.
So you're going to have to cut him some slack.
I was just going to say, I just had about 3 jokes about him getting married that I did not say.
Shelve those for now.
Exactly. So,
Let's give him 1 week of glory.
Yeah, exactly.
And then back.
But it's good to have Chad back.
Hey, thanks.
And it's also good to have Ron Amadio back.
That's
well,
right.
Too. Yeah.
Ron Amadio, reviews editor for Ars Technica.
What's up, guys?
And he's
Awesome to
showing
be here.
solidarity as well. Excellent.
Yes.
He has
Carboard
like a
eye patch.
Matrix eye patch. It's
It's-
just floating
No,
there.
it's a strapless.
It's just strapless.
Floating with tape.
I appreciate that. You do not have to wear that for the entire show because that looks about as painful as this actually is.
Yeah, no, this is awful.
Well, it's awesome having you back on the show, and what a great show to do that with. Obviously, last week was Google I/O. We had a great time there. Before we get into all the Google I/O madness, I know I know you and Gina talked about this when I was off a few weeks ago. Ron, you wrote just a fantastic piece about the history of Android.
Wasn't it?
Gory detail.
It was awesome. Like that was like,
It's
like
huge.
seriously, as people said in the comments and stuff like that, Ron, you should publish that as an ebook, man. That was a hell of a post.
Probably can.
Thank you. Yeah, that was discussed, but ebooks require layout and all this other scary stuff that we didn't want to get into and charge people for and all that. So it's on the internet for free and you can read it there and that's fine.
And I imagine it'll probably get added to over time because it seems like the perfect thing to just get longer and longer and longer with each iteration.
Everybody says to do that. I guess I should do that. I haven't.
I know you're going to regret this now. Yeah.
You're like, I spent so much time on it. All I want to do is forget about it. And unfortunately, people won't let you forget, Ron.
How long did it take you to put all that together?
I started in January, I think. So it was just kind of a back burner thing. I didn't work on it like for 6 months solid, but just whenever I was bored, I started plugging away at it.
Well, it's really impressive. Search, just do a Google search for Ron Amadio and history of Android. Ars Technica, a couple of those words. You'll find it. It's called The History of Android, and it's on Ars Technica, and it's just a really great breakdown. But I know you guys talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago, so we don't have to go into detail.
We didn't talk about it much, but it was just the kind of thing where, like, hey, Ron put this out there, and it's awesome. And if
26 pages.
26 pages.
26 pages.
And if you're an Android enthusiast at all, and we think you are, you probably would want to know the history of it. I think it's a great resource. And wow, I feel so sympathetic for you. I can barely do this with one eye.
You know what I've realized in wearing an eye patch today? After a while, like when you get adjusted to it, it's like you're looking at life through a viewfinder.
Interesting.
And so things like, obviously reaching out and stuff. Things that require 3 dimensions, not so easy when you've only got one eye.
Poor guy.
So anyways,
such a
thanks for
trooper.
wearing your eye patches. but don't feel like you need to anymore.
Okay.
I, on the other hand, will keep mine on. This week, we are, of course, going to be discussing everything I/O. We've got a lot to talk about there. Version L, new initiatives like Android Wear, Auto, TV, and everything else. There's and, of course, apps in the arena, but pretty much it's all I/O focused. So let's get it started with a little surprise. Go ahead and hit it, Chad. No way!
Nice.
Jeff Kosmicki's my favorite person in the world.
He really does kind of come through and deliver,
That's
doesn't he?
amazing, Jeff Kosmicki.
is
Thank you so
awesome.
much. That was all. Let's see it again, Chad. One more time.
That is awesome.
One more time.
The ceremonial one more time.
So you guys need like stacks of paper and you can go
Yes.
breaking
I know,
news.
yes.
Coming up, a look at material design
This just in.
of version L. Speaking of material design, okay, so Google I/O. Version L, we don't have an actual name.
Before we
for
get
it.
to it, I'm taking ownership of this one. I was the one who's like, yeah, maybe they won't do a candy name. And you're like, they
did.
have to do a
You
candy
did.
name.
Nope, you got that one.
Yeah.
Mark
The
that.
name is also beta.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
So are we placing any bets that it stays version L forever?
You think they would,
Lollipop.
they would drop the candy theme? No.
Yeah. Hey, you know, OS 10 is now doing points of interest.
I really think they're going to do cosmetics, and this will be lipstick.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah, and then M will be, Maxim
Mascara.
or mascara.
Yeah.
There you go, mascara.
Chad Johnson, everyone. Back behind the board. There you go.
So
I just feel like they're going to surprise us with something good, though, right? I mean, to go with L now, it feels like when they actually do announce the name that, they're kind of saving it up for a little extra bang when the new Nexus drops at the end of the year or whatever.
there's we've got far too many options. We're not ready to commit right now. We're just going to play the field, play the L field, and see what we like.
They're sampling.
Lemon heads.
Yeah,
licorice.
when you go to Google and when you go to the campus, there's actually a whole big, kind of in the lobby a thing of candies, and so they're sampling. They're letting people vote and stuff. No, I don't know.
Yeah, and they track how many
exactly.
of each are
Yeah.
eaten.
Yep,
And that is your vote.
Of course, it's data-driven decision.
Yes, of course it is. It makes perfect sense, actually.
I will say about L that I was initially annoyed and not impressed, and then the more I've looked at it since last week, I'm very impressed by the whole material design in L. Like, I'm very excited for it.
Completely forgot. I actually have material design on my phone.
You have it.
Whether it patches in, I suppose, is the question. Are you getting that? Chad is.
There it
Hey,
is.
there we go. All right, so right off the
Oh.
top, you can take a look at the lock screen, right?
So cool.
Let's see here.
That is nice.
So there you go, right off the top. This is the lock screen. Doesn't look like a lock screen, does it? But it is. You can swipe up to unlock. You can, all of these are actionable essentially, so I can go right into them if I double tap on. Let's double tap on Wikipedia here. Just a little teaser of what's
Just right
to
into
come.
it.
And it goes right into it, and I'm unlocked. Still getting the hang of this. It took me a while to install this. I ended up installing it yesterday. I wanted to install it sooner, but as you can tell, life has not been kind to me.
Got in the way.
So I've only been playing with it for a day, and so far I really like the design choices more or less. The lock screen, though, I have to say, I'm going to unlock and go into it.
Yeah,
again.
that's
It's taken a lot for me to get used to it. I'm just not used to the lock screen not being that button that I just push away. Now I have to decide, what am I unlocking for? What am I doing?
But that's customizable, right? Can you turn off those notifications
It's a
and all? I
great
mean,
question.
I'd imagine.
I haven't played around with it enough
No.
to do that.
You
Not
can't.
right now.
Oh well,
No,
no.
and if you do a pin or something, you still have to swipe up, and all of that goes away, and then your pin pops up. So it's like an extra step.
Oh,
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. I wonder if
There's a
that'll-
lot of it that's buggy and not very well thought out right now, but they'll get there, I think. Mine is every time I try to use it, it's broken. So I had to switch my phone back to KitKat because it was just too much. Just everything was messed up.
Sometimes early preview is truly indeed early and not
Yeah.
necessarily what you want, right?
Well, and this is something different, right? Something that different than they've done the last couple of years anyways, which is that they're giving you the developer preview. They're not just showing it on a screen and then you get it in a couple of months and there's no way to play with it beforehand. They're not actually rolling it out so that suddenly ROMs are appearing left, right, and center and they're all working 100%. This is a true developer preview, similar to what Apple does with iOS. And if you install it, you're going to run into issues, period.
Your mileage may vary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have a bad day. In the 24 hours that I've been running it, there's definitely been a handful of apps. Some of the apps in today's arena would not run on here, so I have the Nexus 7 as the backup, but that's what you get. So, there's just a whole laundry list of specs, but before, or kind of features and everything. Before we get into that, it all kind of focuses around material design, and this was Matias Duarte's kind of part of his presentation was all about material design. What is material design? The days of hollow are gone. So no more hollow. Hello material. It's a new theme, and it really kind of it really influences all points of Android. It's just a new visual language. The navigation buttons down at the bottom of the screen you can see are different. I don't know if those are full-time
like
or
PlayStation-y.
They are kind of PlayStation.
Yeah, it does look like they did too much PlayStation, but they're not final. They'll probably change them later.
That's what I'm wondering, is if eventually they kind of change to something we're a little bit more used to seeing, because those shapes aren't necessarily intuitive for anyone picking it up, but that's the case. And then, let's see here. So material design, 3D views, real-time shadows in the rendering, activity transitions, and shared hero elements. I heard a little bit about these hero elements at I/O, and I'm not sure if I know what I'm looking at if I'm looking at a hero element, but from what I was explaining, Ron, you could probably explain this a little further, is that developers can choose to have one hero action to be integrated into the app and operated in some way. I'm not sure how that's implemented, though.
Yeah, the hero element is like a big picture at the top of the screen. So like for music, if you go to an artist, it would be a big picture of the artist. And that would kind of slide up when you scroll, or when you go into another screen, it'll like shrink or expand. Yeah, that's a hero element.
Yeah.
That thing. And yeah, what you don't get from the pictures, what you're seeing in the video here, is everything is just heavily animated.
Yep.
Like the goal is to not have anything teleport from one spot to another. It's to have everything slide and move and twist and spin into location.
It seems to be all kind of, almost fluid in a way that it's like, the concept of mass can only take a certain amount of space, and if something expands out, then something else has got to get smaller, and it's this kind of, kind of flexible kind of give and take that the elements do. Like I said, at first, as I was watching the presentation in my office, because I wasn't at I/O, as I was watching it, I was kind of rolling my eyes, and I was like, oh, what is this? But then as I got into it, and as they were doing it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is really cool. And like, not only the hero element, but also the use of color, I think is really interesting, by inheriting the active or dominant color of whatever the application or whatever the thing you're doing, adding in the highlight buttons to match that dominant color. Like, it's just really subtle things that we've seen in design these past couple of months. Like Pocket Cast implemented something similar to that, where the play button changed to the dominant color of the podcast art. But it was really interesting to see it blown out on the whole OS level, and I'm really impressed. And also the bridge between Android and we're going to talk a little later, but what they're doing on Chrome and on the web by applying material design both to web as well as on the Android app kind of thing, gives it a seamless kind of experience. Really impressive. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. Along the material design tip, so material design is in essence what Matias Duarte was talking about, is kind of putting a kind of tangible feel to the OS, which is kind of one of those things that you hear and like, okay, that sounds kind of
in the presentation,
hoity-toity. You know what I mean?
When he showed the
sounds like a concept that, like, yeah, right, I understand that concept. Like, what are you talking about? Are you just making up words?
Yeah, like when he showed the screen of the phone getting kind of like hot, like being almost three-dimensional, that's when I was like, I started rolling my eyes. But then I saw what they were talking about. I was like, so what is this?
So this is material design. You can see it etched in the bottom. I don't know if you have the over-the-shoulder shot here, Chad, but you've got down at the very bottom. It's really hard to see because it's all white, but it's embossed. Yeah, it says this is material design. I didn't get this from the presentation, but it was just hanging around, so I picked one up, and I made sure that anyone close by didn't have it. But I mean, these are all these like cards for about material design, which I just thought was really neat, and a bunch of graphing paper.
They're UI swatches.
There you go.
Like when you go paint shopping.
That is awesome. I love it.
That is really cool.
Which kind of, I mean, is this just commonplace when it comes to UI, or is this something that they're doing to kind of drive the point home? Material design is tangible. What do you think, Ron? See, I don't know that.
I know they partnered with some company to build that, and I know lots of times they have like real life UI stencils, but I don't know. I don't get into any kind of that that's scary design stuff. That's all magic to me. I have no idea
Yes,
how
it
they come
is.
up with this stuff.
I completely agree.
That is a fancy giveaway that they made to impress developers and give them something to hold, especially with something like material design, where the whole idea is that it's tactile and that it's real lifey, whatever. I was joking that it's like skeuomorphism 2.0. I mean, that was just a giveaway that they did for I/O so that developers would have something to hold on to. It's really cool, but I mean, look, I'm not the most experienced developer in the whole world, but I haven't stood around with like cardboard cutouts designing UI ever. So, it's just a cool giveaway. But it's neat. It's a neat way to show it, especially for something like material design that's based heavily on cardstock in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this sums it up. The little text here, it says, we challenge ourselves to create a visual language for our users that synthesizes the classic principles of good design with the innovation and possibility of technology and science. So Google's bringing science to material design. So.
It's amazing how much they've thought about this stuff, though. They have like you can set Z elevation on a UI piece, and they have a real-time shadow renderer now in the UI so that the shadows when things animate are all correct. And they've just gone so incredibly overboard. It's crazy.
So this is really cool. I'm sorry. I mean, this is
kind of a neat
because what you can't tell by the camera, but you can kind of see this. You see those ridges on this side. It's like almost three-dimensional. Like those squares kind of pop out of the thing, and it's similar to the presentation. It says a material metaphor is the unifying theory of a rationalized space and system of motion. Our material is grounded in tactile reality, inspired by our study of paper and ink, and open to imagination and magic. This is all like highfalutin design,
totally
eye-rolly stuff, but it's actually really cool.
It's what it does is it drives the point home that Google at this point is focusing on something that has been a big downside to Android for a long time and actually has improved a lot in the last couple of years. But design, when compared to other platforms like iOS, has not necessarily been Android's strong suit. And what they're saying right now is now, our design sits right at the top with the best of them.
And what's really interesting is that, remember when iOS 7 came out and everybody was freaking out because it was the move to heuristic design or whatever it is? Like, basically, Johnny Ive decided, or whoever decided, that we no longer need the metaphor of a button for app icons, or we don't need the 3D beveling or anything like that. It can be flat and it can be heuristic. And that went over everyone's head. And everybody was like, what does this mean? But what Google's done is basically taken a similar concept and broken it down into a language that is easily understandable and applicable to design principle, which I think is interesting. I mean, I'll read the last one I'll read, but surfaces and edges provide visual cues that are grounded in our experience of reality. The use of familiar tactile attributes speaks to primal parts of our brain and helps us quickly understand affordances, which is true. Like, you see something and you feel the edge, you're like, okay, that's the edge of this card, and a physical index card, and they're using cards as their UI thing. You want to feel that edge of it. You want to know that it's a tactile thing that you're interfacing with and on the platform. So I'm impressed.
It does seem like the sort of perfect marriage of skeuomorphism and flat design, right? It's like it's flat design, but with this very sort of grounded in reality, this tactile kind of feel to it. I mean, as a developer, I'm very excited. I love the way material design looked, and Google's job at I/O was to convince developers that it's a really good idea for them to start porting their apps over to material design now, right? And it's Google's best interest that the best apps work well in material design, from the get-go, right? So that's what this was about for them. They had to sell it to developers, all the developers in the room, and I'm sold. I'm ready. I mean, my app is extremely simple and just uses the default Hollow theme, and defines a few colors or whatever. And so I'm pretty sure that my app is going to work out of the box because it's very simple. I didn't do a whole lot of UI changes. And all the material design stuff, that's all stuff, in a simple list app like mine, that's all stuff that you get for free. All that cool bouncing and highlighting and that smooth movement, I get that all for free. So I'm totally in. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Google did a really good job of presenting material design and sort of convincing the room, like, hey, this is the next thing for your app, right? Because this is what I/O is. It's just a big to-do list for developers to kind of upgrade their stuff to work with Google's next generation,
Absolutely. All right. So material design, we're all on board with that. Let's see here. Now, as far as some of the features of version L, we can just kind of go through the list here. I put some in here. New notification style, which, we kind of showed off a little bit of that on the lock screen. The notifications themselves, you can see I have it up here on my screen right now. And, they kind of have this card folding method to them.
They love the cards, man. They love the cards.
Yeah. There we go. So you can same style of interactivity that you could get with the old notifications, but definitely a much more of a card style look and kind of brighter and vibrant with the white. Security. So this was interesting. Integration of Samsung's Knox security, which you have to imagine must have come out of these talks that Google and Samsung had recently, where they were like, if that is to be believed, potentially, Samsung, hey, dial back your customization. And Samsung says, okay, well, hey, how about Knox integration? Who knows how this all happens, but it was very interesting to me that Samsung's Knox integration is kind of built into the next version of Android.
They work and work and work for differentiation through software, and they found something with Knox, and they ended up just giving it to AOSP. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, they finally get a software thing that actually works and people like. It's like, here, have it.
See, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good people. We'll work with you. So that's cool. Definitely some, let's see here, enterprise-related security enhancements. Of course, that is one of them. Factory reset protection, aka kill switch capabilities. Universal data control. So this is privacy per app, from what I understand. I haven't seen this done, and I haven't tried to do it myself, but I think
none of this actually works yet.
Okay, so it's in the coming, but it's not part of the preview build.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this was kind of a big deal. So we all know about Butter, right? The smoothness, kind of the project that they had. Well, now they have Volta. And I feel like we've been hearing about this for the last year and a half, that there was going to be this, sequel to Project Butter that was going to be dedicated to extending the life of your device, battery life. And, who knows if that was just people guessing, but apparently it's real. It's called Project Volta. It's all about saving your battery. There's battery saver modes that you can activate. You can set a percentage point that underneath that percentage point, your phone operates differently in a more frugal way.
Yep.
So
yeah. I just got done. I just published an article today. I got done testing it. We have a battery test at ours. Our tech guys whipped up a battery test. It's so cool. But it kind of keeps the screen on and cycles websites over Wi-Fi every 15 seconds. Wow. We ran it on KitKat and Android L, and L lasted 36% longer. I got 2 extra hours of battery life.
That's
out of
considerable.
So that's you just exact same phone, you install the software, and you have more battery. It's awesome, and It's not even done yet.
Wow, yeah, they'll tweak that and get that to a better place for sure. Wow, interesting. We also heard a few months ago about Google's acquisition of Divide. That's the way that you can kind of separate one device into a personal zone and an enterprise zone. So you don't have to carry around 2 devices. They announced that that's how that integrates into L. So that's going to be definitely a large chunk of L seems to be making Android more enterprise focused, which I think is a great thing for Android for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Search. So let's see here. What is this mobile search experience? I missed this one. I put it in here and then I didn't.
Oh, it's just an extension of that Google can index things from within apps.
Oh, right.
So if you search for a recipe, it'll show up in your recipe app or whatever. You can direct link from search to inside of an app. And yeah, that last thing was the Google search results will suggest things from within apps. So the person had looked up a location in Google Earth and they searched for it in the search bar and a Google Earth link popped up.
Man, that's crazy.
It's been in beta forever, though, so they're just opening it up to people.
Finally pushing it out. Some of these things you hear about them, and it's hard to parse it in your brain, but after using your device for a couple of days, it's all going to be second nature anyways. You're going to be like, oh yeah, that's just how it is. So that's really cool. And I mean, Google is a search company, so the more they do around search, the more we all benefit from it, because it just seems like that and Google Now, it's all powered by their search capabilities. It's all really cool stuff. Their multitasking interface, so I can show that off here real quick.
That was when I saw that, I was
crazy.
Yeah,
and we had heard leaks about this, particularly Android Police had leaks about this. I think it was Project Hera, which is, so you've got your multitasking list that's more in a cards approach. And, kind of gives you a preview. Some of these things aren't giving me a preview. I'm not entirely sure why, but Again, this
because
is
L is broken.
That's right, because you're just going to encounter that kind of stuff. What I want to show off that I don't know if I've seen yet.
I totally want to say what there are previews. Oh, it's just her eye patch.
So there are ways. Thank you. There are ways in here to, I think, go left and right. Right, if you have like a web browser open with a number of tabs. What is that?
A web browser can, well, all apps can spawn multiple items in recent apps. So a web browser could put tabs for each thing as a separate card in recents. It does not work right now.
Oh, okay.
But will in the future. That's a common theme. Like, none of this really works right now. There's just some APIs for developers to make apps, and that's about it.
Awesome.
But that'll be really cool when they just kind of bridge the whole app and website thing so that it doesn't matter. And hopefully they'll fix the thousands of bugs that currently happen on the recent app implementation in terms of like going from one app to another app in a link. Like, hit the open button there. Oh no, you're not live. But like there, if you like hit the open button from the Play Store, it will open Chrome, say Play Store, and show a thumbnail of Chrome. And it's just completely insane and hard to follow.
Yes.
So I don't know. I hope they fix all that, but who knows?
Right. So those multitasking tweaks, let's see here. ART, A-R-T, last version, they introduced that as kind of an experimental thing, and everybody turned it on and then complained about how apps didn't work with it. Well, now...
Everybody being Ron.
Ron!
Listen, I got burned.
That's how you get back for the random eye patch comment.
Throw away my Dalvik for Life T-shirt. Yeah. Good thing I didn't get that tattoo.
Yeah, good thing. Art for life.
Hey, I want art. I mean, if this new runtime is as good as it's cracked up to be, then I want it. That's great. It's just you gotta give the developers time to update the apps, and I'm sure that now's the time after rolling it out previously with KitKat.
Yep. So it will be, well, it's basically the underpinnings of L at this point. So although, is that full-time yet in the developer preview? I'm not sure.
There is no Dalvik at all in developer preview. You are stuck with art, and that is it, which is one of the reasons I had to get rid of it, because, my awesome game doesn't run on art, and that makes me sad.
That is true. I noticed that too. It's okay. I have an Nexus 7 to show it off, so you're covered there. Lock screen notifications, we talked about that. Audio improvements. So this is something that I care a lot about, because iOS is just a great platform for musicians. Android has historically been really bad for that, with touchscreen latency and audio latency being so wide that it makes live performance excuse me, with Android devices not nearly as tight as it is on iOS. So they've made changes there, including high bit rate, 24 bits per sample, 96 kilohertz sampling rate, if you want that, if that matters to you. A lot of people it doesn't matter to. Floating point for sampling the audio, which is kind of this crazy thing that I only partially understand, but essentially it means no clipping, among a few other things. But ultimately, USB audio support, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And that's something that's been long overdue. So there you go. And a few other things there. And I think there's probably still work to be done as far as audio improvements in Android. So I've just kind of rattled off a bunch. Any features that I've missed that jump out at you guys? Or should I just go?
Dead air.
Yeah.
I think we covered them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I didn't know if I missed any. I mean, there is
on phones in the quick settings panel, there is an auto rotate button. Yes.
Oh, cool.
That makes me so excited.
Finally.
It's the little things.
I know.
It really is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that isn't the screen brightness is done
Yeah, it's like
differently
adaptive screen brightness now. I don't know what the difference is.
Optimized brightness level for available light. How is that different than the auto mode that I have on currently?
Supposedly adaptive is how it's done on iOS. Again, I don't know the difference either, so we'll have to look.
But
into
there's
that
tons of like cool little improvements. When you charge, it will tell you how much longer it has until you have a full charge. It will estimate the battery life that you have left, and there's all sorts of nice little touches that they have all over the place.
Which is funny, because that does what Battery Widget Reborn does for me. So it's another case of there's an app that now I won't need because they've integrated it into the platform. So. But I guess that's the case. I mean, the developers innovate, then if it takes off, they add it. So
yeah.
I guess there's a do not disturb mode that turns off notifications. That's kind of interesting. Lifehacker wrote that up. So you can say don't push any notifications to me for 1 hour or until I manually say you can. That's pretty cool.
That's great. Oh, and we've seen that in a lot of apps as well too. We've seen that in apps that do the I'm in a meeting, don't bother me for an hour. And I believe the app I showed last week in the arena did the same thing. So interesting as well. Another concept being integrated.
Cool. And then finally, before we get to the ad, Google Play Services 5, some changes there. Wearables compatibility, of course, which we're going to talk about after the ad. Play Games has some improvements, including saved games across devices, which is like one of those, that's awesome things. Quests for event-based challenges. Game profile for experience points. App indexing API for deep content retrieval and search is what we were talking about earlier. And this pops up throughout all of their initiatives, particularly in Android TV, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And Dynamic Security Provider, which is security patches. This I think is actually pretty big. Security patches now delivered through Play Services and not just done by an upgrade to your Android version. So the complaint that, you're on an earlier version of Android, so your phone is inherently insecure, might not necessarily be completely accurate going forward with Play Services having the ability to take care of those security patches. So
it's a big one.
That is a big one.
So do you think
that sounds scary? That sounds like they're just going to dispense Band-Aids via Play Services, because I don't think they can actually fix stuff. They can just kind of be like, okay, well, here, that's broken. We can cover that up, and good luck.
That's a really good point.
So in addition to the candy name, I mean, this is going to be 5.0, right? I mean, this has got to be a full point release.
Well, they don't say. I have to imagine so. It's on the surface, it's a major enough to be a point release. But if you go into settings, it doesn't say. All it says is version L.
It says L, yeah.
Yep.
It just says L, and then a little shot of Newman comes up and he goes,
It's so nice to see.
Did you
white
triple tap
settings.
on that?
Yeah.
Did you tap on that a whole bunch of times? Oh,
yeah, that thing.
It's so material.
It's the YouTube thing. Oh.
Yeah, what is that, like Screwdriver or WebDriver?
Yeah.
Something or other. Yeah, their YouTube test. That's obscure. Nobody at I.O. knew what that was.
What?
I was like running around asking. Yeah.
That's silly. I knew it though.
You should have been there.
I forget.
Yeah, it was. I forget the name of it, but yeah, it's that what YouTube channel.
WebDriver Torso. That's it.
Yeah.
Weird story, but Google it.
Yep. All right, so we have plenty more to talk about. Hopefully we have enough time for it all, but let's take a quick moment and thank our first sponsor of today's episode. That would be SmartThings. SmartThings makes it easy to protect and control your home with your smartphone. Google did not roll out home automation stuff the way we talked last week that they might, and this is a way to do that right now, and it's actually a really great way to do that. You can adjust the lights, temperature, keep track of whether your kids come home from school on time. You can even check to see if you remember to close the garage door, among other things. You can do it from anywhere using your iOS or your Android device. You start with one of 3 smart home security kits. Each kit contains one SmartThings hub and enough sensors and outlets to turn your home into a smart home in as little as 15 minutes. Just plug the SmartThings hub into your router and add the sensors and outlets by following the instructions from the free and easy-to-use SmartThings app. They make it very easy to set all this stuff up. And in addition to SmartThings' own sensors, you can add hundreds of other home automation devices from a variety of manufacturers like GE, Schlage, Honeywell, Eon, as well as the latest connected devices like Nest Thermostat, Philips Hue, Wemo, Sonos, and more. SmartThings also lets developers create new ways to use the product and then publishes these integrations and features in its app so that all of its customers can use them. With thousands of developers adding new integrations all the time, you can update your smart home as often as you want to fit your preferences. Now, they offer 3 home security kits, and we're going to take a look at those here. Let's see here.
These are hands down the coolest things I've ever seen.
They're really well designed too. You start with so they have 3 total kits, and then they have all these pieces that plug into it, right? Each kit contains one SmartThings hub and enough sensors to get you started here. The first one is the Smart Home Security Kit. It is a $329. It includes one SmartThings hub, one SmartSense motion sensor, one SmartSense presence sensor, and 3 SmartSense multi-sensors, which are multi-purpose sensors for doors, windows, drawers. They sense when things open and close and can measure temperature, acceleration, and vibration. Cool stuff there. And then you have... Sorry, my eye patch is getting in the way.
I love the multi-sensor because like the whole idea of like being able to put this on your garage door or your mailbox or or anything like that. If you have kids that are always leaving the refrigerator door open, that sort of thing. I was that kind of kid. My parents hated me.
I did that too.
But yeah, I think all kids did.
The Smarter Home Security Kit is $479. It adds an additional motion sensor, a smart power outlet, and a siren strobe alarm. Boop, boop. I love that. The Smartest Home Security Kit is $599, and it includes all the above, plus another presence sensor, power outlet, and an outdoor light plug and control power outlet. Each of these kits offers an affordable way to secure and automate your home without any of the contracts, monitoring fees, or hidden charges associated with traditional home security companies. What's
Sorry,
that?
go on. I was gonna say these make me wish I was a homeowner still. Like I bought my house like 8 years ago, or whatever. I've sold it since, and now I rent. And but I want to put these all throughout my rental too. I mean,
Well, you
these are
still
great.
could.
Yeah, you still can. Yeah,
Yeah, you just
exactly,
attach it to your window or wherever you want to do it. You're not installing it necessarily into the wall. So
yeah.
To get started creating your own smart home, visit smartthings.com/twit, and you can save 10% off the purchase of any home security kit by entering the code TWIT10 at checkout. You'll also get free shipping within the U.S. That's smartthings.com/twit. Remember to use the code TWIT10 at checkout, and we thank SmartThings for their support of All About Android. Thank you. All right.
Let's get to the main event.
So let's main event, boy. We're pretty far from the main event right now.
For me, this is what it's all about.
This is what
For
it's
me,
all about.
this is it.
All right. So Android Wear, which is no stranger to the show. We've talked about it plenty of times. Google's wearable platform.
Look, he's rubbing it in.
Oh,
Ron,
yeah.
I liked you up until that point, Ron. And now you're all,
There we go.
That's
So
so
you
cool.
have the Gwatch, the G Watch, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is awesome. That's all I have to say about it. No, it's
true.
Wear is really, really good. The hardware is junky, but it doesn't matter. We're all just kind of waiting for the Moto 360 at this point. It's all very beta-y. It's like a soft launch.
Yeah.
I feel like.
So let's start with Wear first, the Wear platform. Does it deliver on its promise of kind of keeping your phone in your pocket and giving you just enough notifications, but not too much notification on your wrist, and also telling time? What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it definitely does. Go ahead, Ron.
All I've really ever wanted in a wearable platform is just a way to easily get notifications and deal with them. And Wear is 100% compatible with everything on Android because it uses the notification API. So something pops up on your phone. It also shows up on the watch. The watch actually makes a notification out of what's on your phone. So like all the buttons that developers already have added support for show up on the watch. So you can just kind of swipe over from Gmail and hit archive or delete or whatever, and it instantly happens on the phone. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Like it's amazing how instantly useful it is and how quickly it changes your habits. Like at I.O., me and a couple people were in an elevator and we heard a ding noise, and normally that would send everybody digging through pockets and purses and everything else, and we all just kind of went, oh, okay.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Totally true. I've been enjoying it. The platform is really well thought out. And like you said, Ron, I think the power of this is that there's little compatibility that developers need to add into it. If they're already creating notifications that are actionable, then they're already creating something that is more or less interactive with Android Wear. And that's just incredibly helpful. Where it's not so helpful, it's funny. You can mute certain apps if you don't want certain apps to pop up on your wrist, and I found that pretty useful. I feel bad about saying this, but I think I'm going to mute Google Plus, and I know Google doesn't want that. But their notifications are pretty useless, right? Like I get one notification, and when I check it, it's like these 5 people have either +1'd or commented certain things, but I can do nothing with it beyond that. So it's kind of like all it tells, and if that happens throughout the course of the day, it's always going off, reminding me that somebody +1 something or whatever, and just kind
right,
of
and that's why it feels like a beta. Like not all of the Google products are compatible with it yet, and Google Plus is one of them. You're right, the notification there is completely worthless, and a couple of things are like that, but they're not even out. They're not even for sale yet, right? And I mean, the App Store doesn't launch until July 7th. So Google, the ecosystem is still kind of spooling up and still has to happen. So I just feel like all of this is the opening act for the Moto 360 that'll come out in like 2-3 months. And then I think we can really judge it. But in terms of like a 1.0, like kind of beta release, I think it's fantastic. And it has, all you really want from a release like this is to be able to look at the platform and say, yes, that's useful, yes, it's good, and it's going to be going places in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed. And then, well, I guess let's talk about the devices real quick here before we move on. So I got the Galaxy Gear, or sorry, not the Galaxy. It's not a Galaxy. It's the Samsung Gear Live, and it's very similar to the Gear watches, the last iteration of the Gear watches in design. Ron is, of course, sucked into it right now.
I'm totally in love.
It was funny while you guys were talking about Android Wear, I look over and Ron's just like staring at me like a puppy dog going, can I have your watch?
Is the main difference? Is it the heart rate monitor? The main difference, Jason, between the Gear Live and the G Watch?
A little bit smaller battery. It has the 300 milliamp hour battery versus the watch's 400 milliamp hour battery. Has a slightly better resolution display, so things are a little bit smaller but a little bit sharper. Minor differences. Both have replaceable bands. This one, has a little bit of that chrome look. The G Watch doesn't necessarily have that. It's a little bit more of your straightforward rectangle.
I have not lived with both, but I've heard the Samsung one is more comfortable because the bottom of it is round.
Yeah.
Where this is just a straight up flat brick.
Oh,
that has no curve to it at all. So.
Yeah,
Jen,
I will say, as far as comfort is concerned, I find this very comfortable, and I find it actually fits my wrist pretty well. But I have bigger wrists, bigger hands, so it will fit my wrist. It's probably not going to look really good on smaller wristed people though. But I've enjoyed it. We actually both Mike Elligan and I reviewed both watches on Before You Buy a little bit earlier today. Mike gave the G Watch a don't buy, specifically because we know that the Moto 360 is around the corner, and we did get a chance to play around with the Moto 360, so we have hands-on.
Was it just was it like amazing?
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's a little thicker than I would say these, but I would say it's totally reasonable.
Looks more like a watch.
Yeah.
How big is the display?
Yeah.
Like circular.
Yeah, I don't know. Similar but circle.
Yeah, similar. All right, there you go. That makes sense.
I don't know how better to answer
I would say everything's a don't buy until the Moto 360 comes out, just because it's definitely the watch to get. We don't know how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
We don't even know when it's going to come out other than summer. So I would definitely wait and see what that's like before you go and dive into these things. Because who wants a square watch? Come on,
listen,
really.
If you guys don't want these, I'll be happy to take it off your hands. I mean, it's real easy. It's real easy to sit back and say don't buy when you're sitting with one. Like, I've got so many on my wrists, I don't know what to do with them.
I recommended on Before You Buy, I recommended a try, only because if what you want is to get in on Android Wear right now, I don't find $200 to be a horrible, price to pay for the watch. And probably once the Moto 360 comes out, if and when you decide you actually want that, you could sell this.
Yeah.
And
Does Gazelle take it?
I don't know if Gazelle takes it.
Can we find out?
Maybe someday they'll cover wearables as well. But
I own an $800 Motorola Zoom, so no one should listen to my advice about buying things.
I do too, but I didn't.
Or Honeycomb.
Yeah, I don't know if I spent my own money on it, but I have one too. And up until a few months ago, it was still being used on the show.
Wow.
Listen,
hey, sometimes it just works.
Listen, I don't know what the heck I'm doing with this watch, but I'm in love.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
It's
Pretty great.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty awesome.
We didn't even mention this, but you can speak to it. You can say, okay,
Oh,
Google,
right.
and ask questions or tell it to text someone or something. Go ahead, live demo. Let's watch it fail.
So let's hold up your wrist.
I'm holding it.
And you go like this. Watch.
So yeah, the screen needs to be on.
I see. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Then it goes, okay, Google. Sorry.
Oh, here. Let's.
Okay, now
Sorry?
you told it sorry.
It just gave me the Wikipedia page for Sorry, the board game.
Okay, so hand over the top.
Hand over the
puts it
top.
into screen off mode.
Yeah.
Or if
Now
you
it's
swipe to the right, it'll clear it.
and so it's designed
So it's-
for either you lift your hand up and it turns on. There you go.
There it is. Okay, Google. Oh no! And then it gives you little suggestions.
If you say nothing,
didn't
it gives
say
you-
yeah.
Now
Show
you
me
don't have to. You don't have to wait for the voice recognizer to pop up. You can just say, "Okay, Google, send an email to Bob. Hey, let's go have beers later or whatever." There's no waiting for like voice recognizers to kick in or anything. It buffers everything, which is really cool because most Google stuff does not do that.
So if I just start talking, it will work.
Yeah, just
So if I just say, "Okay, Google."
Oh, the screen has to be.
see you still waited.
Yeah, I did.
So just okay, Google, how tall is the Eiffel Tower? Will actually
Let's
work.
try that. All right, ready?
You're disconnected, I think.
Okay, Google, how tall is the Eiffel Tower?
You gotta have the screen.
Screen's off.
Damn it. All right. Okay, Google, how tall is the Eiffel Tower? It just did it.
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
Boom.
that is so cool.
That's so cool.
That is so cool, man.
I find myself doing the voice stuff a lot less than I expected I would.
Yeah,
You know,
same here. It's more notifications than anything.
you want to know what I found immediately incredibly useful is when I get in my car, my phone goes in the dash mount and I plug it in, and that's where I keep it, right? That's where it charges whether I'm navigating or not. If I want to drive if I'm driving and I want to navigate, I then have to go okay Google or whatever, have to find the navigation. You don't want to do that because you're driving. The easiest thing in the world, right? I lifted up my hand. I said, okay, Google, navigate to Petaluma. And then I watched as my phone went from screen off to screen on and navigation and just jumped right into it. I didn't have to do a single thing. It was great.
Look.
What?
I texted you. And I go, "Whoop."
Oh, Ron's in
But-
love.
There we go.
That's so
But now,
cute.
Jason, I did that at night, and the watch lights up too with navigation stuff. So you've kind of got this light bulb on your wrist while you're steering, and like every time you turn your wrist, it wants to light up like you're lifting it up to your face. It's really weird in the dark when you're driving.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, sometimes in the dark, actually, the watch is a little too bright, I have to say.
Oh, don't even tell me. I just responded to a text message by voice, and it worked. Oh, come on. Get out. Really? It totally worked.
The future.
The future is now, Ron. You didn't need glass. You have Wear. So there's
There's
kind
a
of something.
segue if I ever saw it.
Yeah.
So what do we think? Does this kind of take the good things of glass and put it into a form factor that people don't hate and want to kill?
I think it puts it in a form factor that people can swallow at this point. I almost feel like glass is too much too soon, and that like if they had rolled out this beauty and then in a year or two then they rolled out glass and be like, oh, you know that thing you can do with your watch and now you can do with your eye, people would absorb to it a little better, acclimate a little better.
Right.
Well, I think if you're going to build a face computer, you need to take advantage of things that you can only do on a face computer. What we saw with Wear is it does everything glass will do, but on your wrist in an easier form factor. If the stuff that would be unique to glass would be augmented reality and stuff with your vision, because it has that line of sight of what you're looking at, and glass doesn't do any of that, and Google's not interested in building any of that. And until they are, a face computer is not going to be worth the weirdness of having, a thing on your face that people have to constantly look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, unless it's an experience that you want to record or doc, right? Like the camera, the taking
Right, the
videos,
camera
taking
takes
photos
advantage of your
hand-free. Right, that's the only thing that glass really does that the watch doesn't, right? So I mean, you're not gonna get that video you got of your daughter, Jason, with the watch,
Right.
But I think that you really only want that when you're when you're having an experience, when you're documenting vacation, when you're on a roller coaster, whatever. I mean, it's just not that often that we really need and want a head-mounted computer.
But the camera is what gets
camera.
glass in trouble, though, and why you don't want to wear it in a restaurant or a bathroom or a movie
Right.
theater or any of that stuff. So.
Right.
camera's weird.
True.
Agreed. And Ron is.
I can't. Like, I'm fighting all my urge to go buy one right now. Like, no, seriously.
I don't think that it's a bad idea to
So
get
here's
one
the
if
here's
you
the
really
thing.
want
Check
one.
this out. Look what I just discovered as I'm totally messing with their watch.
Yeah.
All right, Chad, take the over thing. All right, so there it just shows the time, right?
Right.
And then when I tap it, then it gives me. I switch to the photo mode one. So it's saving battery life by when it's not being used. It's just going dark. But then when you touch it or whatever, it lights back up. And
Yeah.
that's so
So
cool.
and
The LG one has a lot more watch faces, and the third-party app situation is kind of weird right now. Developers can make Android apps that also ship Wear components, but I don't think you can make standalone Wear apps now. And no one can make a watch face right now other than the company that makes the watch.
yeah, that'll change.
So
There's going to be a lot.
Yeah,
hope it
that seems
does.
like it'll change quickly.
And,
I mean, the Wear interactions are basically an extension of their rich notifications. They just go to Wear, right? Like from a developer's perspective.
Yes.
And of course, Wear is a proprietary Google thing, right? Like you're obviously not gonna get it. If you build to Wear, just like if you build to Play Services, that doesn't help you when you upload to Amazon or any other app store.
Yes, all of the new Google stuff is unskinnable. TV, car, where you're not allowed to mess with any of the UIs for that. You can OEMs can make watch faces, but that's it.
right.
Right.
Interesting
quick tip
turn
on
of
the-
events for Google.
On the screen, when the screen's lit up, I've had like sort of different. I've had varying results when I do the whole palm thing. But one thing that you can do is you can do two fingers, and that'll kind of like hush, and that'll also darken it if you don't want to like.
Oh,
There have
interesting.
been a couple times when I've been trying to like fit my whole hand over it, and it wouldn't get dark. But the two fingers works.
Man, I've gotten so used to just and it's done, and it seems to work every time for me.
My kid does that constantly.
Well, that's one of the downsides. Actually, that was one of the negatives that I put in my review. Is the touch screen is awesome when you intend for it to be awesome, and it can actually get phantom touches. And if I'm holding my kid and her clothes rub up on the watch, it can register that or whatever. And I've had mail get archived without me wanting to do it. And there's really no way that you can turn it off, right? Because it wakes up with a touch. So there's no way to be like, right now, I don't want you to respond.
Yeah, there are a lot of rough edges right now. There's no way to undo everything. Like many, many times I've accidentally swiped something away and I have no idea what it is and you can't get it back. So I kind of dig through whatever that app was and try to find it. There's weird stuff like you can answer a phone call, but it doesn't have a speaker. So it will answer the phone in your pocket and the person will be listening to your hip. Just weird stuff like that.
Yeah, I suppose that is only useful if you happen to have like headphones on with a mic and you're like, oh yes, answer. But yes, otherwise it's that's just the way it goes.
It's a new fun with butt dialing.
But do we really want a mic in our watch? Do we really want a camera in our watch? All these things are going to deplete the battery, and I think that's the point. That's kind of the beauty of Android Wear is its simplicity, and yeah, I think it's pretty darn successful in that.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
The Google Now implementation too. Like I ordered something on Amazon and my watch buzzed today and said package shipped. And that's just it's crazy to me. I mean I know that Now does that. I know that Now is looking at my Gmail and whatever. But that just felt like the future. I was like, all these little things are just daisy chained together, and now like I know when my package has been shipped, and it didn't interrupt my day. I didn't have to look at something else. I didn't have to pull out a computer and check.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this, and all the Google Now stuff, the bus, how many minutes till the bus comes to the stop nearest I am, and all the stuff that Now does. It's like, oh, if you lived in Google Now already, then Android Wear makes complete sense.
Oh yeah.
Because it's right there.
Before Now was really weird because it was only ever this thing that you had to visit. Like it was never your home screen. It was this thing off to the left of your home screen. And now you just get Wear stuff on your watch and it's there and you can actually see it without having to seek out Now. And was I saying Wear? I meant Google Now. Google Now was weird. But now it's on your watch and you just kind of see it. So it's really cool.
Can I do another OK Google?
Real quick.
Move on.
Go for it.
OK Google, what's the Mets score? Oh, come on. That's so cool. That's so cool.
I thought you were going to blame Google for the fact that the Mets are down.
I know.
I know you sounded upset. This is the score.
All right, let's see.
Oh, come on.
Okay, Google, who won the World Cup game? It gave me the search results to the matches. It didn't give me an answer because I didn't ask specifically. So,
but you could probably do something like, okay, Google, did the USA team play today in the World Cup? Yes. Who won? And it would tell you, and it would know context.
Picking all that up.
Oh.
Voice recognition is still really dumb. Like if you stutter or say, it picks up all of that, and it really messes it up. Whenever I try to get like a normal person to use voice recognition, they always screw it up. You have to be like, no, you need to think about what you're going to say in advance and have it in your head and then say it. And only then will it work. If you talk like a person, it won't.
Well, that's the same with any interface. You got to figure out how to use it and how it works and what the right way to do it and that sort of thing. Does it do any other audio other than a little beep? Does it talk or anything? Or
there's no speaker.
No, there's no speaker. No, it's just a vibration or
it's got a beep.
Yeah.
Doesn't it have a beep or no? Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
No,
okay, Google.
You're imagining the beep.
Totally imagining the beep.
You expect it to be there.
Totally imagining the beep.
The beep.
That's weird.
The beep. That's hilarious.
Oh.
All right, so that's all about Android Wear.
I'm not giving it back, so I'm sorry.
Big surprise, we have a lot more to talk about, and we have a short amount of time to do it. So let's thank our second sponsor and then do like speed round on a couple of these and see what we think. This episode is sponsored and brought to you by Gazelle. If you're thinking about getting the new HTC One, the Samsung Galaxy S5, any of these nifty devices that we're talking about on today's show, and you have old devices just hanging out in your drawer, gathering dust, maybe you want to get the new Nexus, or the Nexus 7 tablet, the Moto X, any of these devices will work. Gazelle wants to buy your old Samsung, HTC, and other Android devices, and you can lock in your price today. You send it to Gazelle when you get your new one because Gazelle's offer is good for 30 days. Gazelle makes selling your used gadgets fast and simple. You go to Gazelle.com. That's Gazelle.com. You find your item there. Tell Gazelle the condition. They'll even buy back broken phones and tablets. Get a risk-free offer for your gadgets and free shipping, and then you'll get paid fast by check, PayPal, or get an extra 5% with an Amazon gift card. Go to Gazelle.com now to get an offer for your used Android or Apple products, and you'll do so for a number of reasons. You get paid in cash. Payment is fast, usually within a couple of days of the item being received. It's risk-free. Offers are good for 30 days, giving you time to transfer that data off or set up your new device. Gazelle will also wipe your data for free for you. It's trustworthy, and they've done it plenty of times before. So if you don't wipe it yourself, they'll do it for you. Gazelle has paid more than $100 million to over 700,000 customers. It's easy, free shipping. Most items actually qualify for a free box. It's a fast process with no listing hassles. And there's just a number of devices on there. It's kind of fun to go on there and just kind of go poking around and be like, hey, this is just hanging out. What can I get for it? And money is better than no money when it comes to an old device, so you might as well. What's your Android device worth? Take a minute. Go to Gazelle.com to find out. Do it now because your device may lose value the longer you wait. We thank Gazelle for their continued support of All About Android. All right.
I feel like I'm going to need Gazelle before this. So before we move on,
yes,
the Watch is $229 and the Samsung Wear is $199.
That's important information.
Exactly. Yes. But you seem to get more with the Samsung Watch because you get the accelerometer and you get the heart rate monitor and all that sort of stuff. But the Watch doesn't have any of that stuff. So what does the
heart rate monitor does not work?
I've actually had pretty good experience with the heart rate monitor.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't need a heart rate monitor.
I'm not comparing it to much of anything else, but anytime I've ever done it, it's captured it. I didn't need to move it to the underside of my wrist. I just held my wrist up here and it was able to capture it.
So what you have to do is back to back and see if they're close.
Yeah, I've done a couple of those and they were pretty darn close. But I'm not talking historically that it's always going to be good, but in my tests with it, because I remembered what you said while we were at I/O, and I definitely have tried it off and on, and it's been pretty accurate for me. Maybe not for everyone.
So if the specs are the same, except that the Samsung has got digital compass and heart rate monitor,
Samsung has a smaller battery.
Okay, so that's the difference.
300 milliamp hour versus 400.
All right.
But they both last about a day, though, so you're okay.
It's
not like the LG's going to last that much longer.
I don't know. Samsung seems like the win here.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that way, but I also I've also spent my time with the Samsung.
Right,
I
yeah.
haven't spent it with the G Watch.
Watch.
So, anyway, the Watch.
All right. Anyway, wow, I got a lot of decisions to make this 4th of July weekend.
Think
that's for
about
sure.
that, and then think about all these other things. Gina, what's Android Auto all about?
Oh, we got to take a little test drive together, Jason,
That's right.
on the floor there at Google I/O. That was a lot of fun. I got a couple pictures. Yeah, I got a couple pictures on the video that I posted to my Plus page. If you want to hear the whole pitch that we got from the Googler, who was in the driver's seat there. I was in the back seat. It wasn't a real car. We were on the floor there. But basically, I like Android Auto. You plug your phone into the car. Everything works from the phone, right? So the car is basically just kind of a dumb terminal. It's like a head, right? For everything that's happening actually on your phone. Your phone has the connectivity, your phone is issuing the sound, the whole deal. So you plug your phone into the car, and on the screen is kind of this version of Android that's optimized for, a touch screen that you'd want to use while you were driving. So it's got voice control. You can find and play music on your stereo, bigger buttons for easier operation while you're driving, obviously navigation, Google Maps support. The Open Auto Alliance includes 28 different car makers, and this is supposedly going to be on sale by the end of the year. I gotta say, I was impressed but not blown away. It makes a lot of sense, right? That Android Auto is all on the phone, right? That means that you don't have to be running software updates for your car. It just makes a lot of sense. At the same time, and I think this was a question that you asked during the demo, it's like, well, if you don't have the screen in your car, can you just kind of mount your phone to the windshield or to your dashboard and put it in auto mode, whatever that is, whether that's an app or just a different, operating mode of Android, and get Android Auto? And the answer was yes. So yeah, what did you think of it? Were you blown away by it, or did it just seem make sense? I felt like myself, I kept going oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I felt like it makes sense. I feel like it's an incredibly important thing for Android to have finally some sort of true dedicated auto mode, because if the fact of the matter is, too many people, and I know I'm guilty of this as well, use their device when they're in the car driving or operating a vehicle, and it's stupid. It's dangerous.
Sometimes they do it on the way to the brick house to do all about Android.
See? And yet, we talk up and down about how it's not a good idea, and we know it's stupid, and we know it's a bad idea, and we know the consequences, yet every once in a while you still choose to do it. And for right or wrong, and I know I'm not alone here, been saying that. So I think it's a really important initiative for Google to do that. I would agree, Gina. I wasn't necessarily blown out of the water, but it feels kind of like a lot of these other things, like Android TV, which we'll talk about in a second. It's a starting point. I like where they're starting, and I think it has total potential. And I really like seeing that the automotive industry, through the Auto Open Alliance, is jumping on board. And I hope to see more cooperation with that. But you don't need a head unit. And that was one important thing that I wanted to make sure when we were sitting in that demo was, that's all fine and good for people who buy a new car that has this installed head unit that works with Android Auto. But what about most of the people that already have an Android device and just want a better experience in the car? Can you do it from your device? And you can go into Android Auto mode without needing a head unit. And I think that's a really important move. So
it's cool.
I think what a lot of people overlook with Android Auto is the user experience. Cars are a lot like what smartphones were like before Android and iOS showed up. You have this thing that is now suddenly a computer, and the manufacturer that's been making it suddenly has to make computer software, and they're terrible at it. Yeah. Like if you've ever tried any car infotainment system from anyone, you will never see an animation above 5 frames a second, if you even see an animation at all. Nothing makes sense. The layout's terrible. It's all just a huge mess. And now, like with cell phones, you have real software companies that are going to come in and make software that makes sense and works and is consistent, and they know what they're doing, and the car companies don't. So just like it all does the same things, but Android Auto looks way nicer than any kind of car infotainment system.
Yeah. So cool stuff there. And then Ron.
And I know that moving on with a lot of us curious what Android TV was going to be about. Actually, the night before I/O, we were talking amongst ourselves after the show, well, what's going to happen with Chromecast? Is there going to be any updates, any discussion of Chromecast? And sure enough, there was. Some Chromecast updates that are coming down the way. You're going to be able to share content with a TV on a different Wi-Fi network via your Chromecast than via your device, which is an interesting distinction, I thought.
I think we've actually heard a little bit more about how this is done. It's ultrasonic sounds,
Crazy.
which is weird, but basically it means you don't have to be connected to the same wireless access point in order to control and send video to your Chromecast,
which is pretty cool.
That's going to be the future of a lot of stuff, that ultrasonic sound stuff. Like Google just bought a company that would log into your laptop with your cell phone by beaming ultrasonic noises to it, because everything already has a microphone and speakers.
Yeah,
so everything can kind of silently communicate that way. It's going to be really crazy.
That's wacky. That's totally crazy.
Yeah.
But additionally, Chromecast Ready Screen will be able to stream your own photos, which is a nice addition, and you'll be able to mirror your phone screen on the TV, which is which is something that everyone's been asking for. So it's nice to see Chromecast is still kind of kicking around and still a part of Google's overall strategy.
Isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, and because I think it's funny because we're talking to a friend of mine who works at Google, not in Chromecast, but said when they first saw it, everybody at Google was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" Like to hear the same kind of excitement around a device, even by people within Google, was really, really interesting. So, but then that led me to the edge of my seat to see, okay, well, now what's Android TV going to do, and how's this going to interplay with Chromecast?
Yes. So Android TV, which I actually have the dev unit right here on the table.
It's hot, by the way.
It is.
That will cut you, by the way. Be careful.
No, it's
That
got
is
sharp
way
edges.
Sharper than anything.
Look at
It
this.
really
It's
is.
all ridged here.
Yeah, it kind of has a.
It's got sharp edges, and it is.
Hi, it looks like you could slice an apple with that thing.
Yeah, it's pretty sharp. So
I put mine upside down. I don't know why all the cool stuff is on the bottom.
that's
Yeah.
true. That's a really
That's
good point.
much better.
I love it. I'm going to do that from now on. Even though the other side, like, you know,
glossy.
it's taken like 5 days to get all finger smudged and scratched to hell.
It's really
I'll
hot.
just do this. Yeah, it's pretty hot.
So what is this thing? Is this what they're going to be selling? Is
No.
this going to be built into the TV?
What
What's
is
going
this
on?
thing?
with
It's
that
just
thing?
like a limited edition developer unit, essentially.
It's an Nexus TV.
Yeah, for the most part, that's what it is. I don't think that you're going to see this as a consumer thing in this iteration, but what you got in the box is you got this Android TV that we were just showing off. You also got this controller, right? It kind of looks like an Xbox controller, although you can see the familiar, at least in the material design, these are designed the same way as your home and your back buttons there. So are you getting the video signal, Chad? Yes. Okay, awesome. So pull that up, and this is the Android
cool.
TV area. Now, one thing the controller doesn't have, it doesn't have a microphone built into it, but that's okay because I also have an Android TV app. Now, this app, I asked them because it's not the best app in the world, and I was like, is this really going to be the remote for Android TV? Again, this is meant for developers to give them the minimum of controls so that they can develop against Android TV and start to create around it. So we're going to get better remote controls on your phone and all that kind of stuff. But we can go ahead and do the Gary Busey test as I did it on Before You Buy here. Movies with Gary Busey. And it'll go ahead and search its vast database. It'll give me a little info card
that's so cool.
of Gary Busey. It'll give me all of his movies, all that kind of stuff. There's also, I believe, YouTube down here. People also search for all that kind of stuff. So I'm doing that through my my remote app on my device. Wow, Nick Nolte's not looking very good there.
Oh yeah.
I know the background pictures are creepy. Can we pick somebody attractive?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Sorry.
Here, let's go with someone that we can all get along with there, Buddy Holly, whatever.
Nice.
Okay, so
Nice.
I think eventually, so I'll go back home here. Eventually, apps like Netflix are going to surface the ability for this universal search to reach into them, from what I understand. Right now, however, it doesn't work that way. If I search for something I know is in Netflix, and I've connected my Netflix app to this, so Breaking Bad. And then it'll do the search. It'll give me the Breaking Bad card. Only shows me available on Google Play Movies. I think
cool.
but it's early.
Yeah.
I think this is probably something that Netflix has to build in themselves. So maybe it's more on Netflix than it is on Google. But I do find it weird that Netflix is kind of a launch partner and that they created a version of their app for Android TV out of the gate. Yet you can't do probably one of the most compelling things about Android TV with it.
But also,
this is what the app indexing thing is. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Google announced you can deep link into apps, and that's what all this is, and they just have to build it in. It'll happen.
It'll happen.
but it doesn't seem like it's that complicated, considering I can do this today on my Google TV with the Primetime app, where if I search for something, it shows me when it's available on Netflix and Amazon and Google Play already. So I wonder why they wouldn't. Maybe I mean they must be using.
They're not using the same
tool.
approach.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
The new API,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then if you go back to Android TV, just real quick, we don't have to spend a lot more time on it, but basically I'll go home
so
with a
cool.
controller. I'll hold it up here fakely. And then I can go down to Riptide GP2. And so Android TV has its own version of the Play Store. All games will not appear there. A developer actually has to go in and make their game Android TV compatible.
That's good.
I don't know how complicated that is, but that basically means that anything you see in the Play Store for Android on Android TV is actually going to work, hopefully, pretty well
That's
right
good.
out of the box. So,
good.
and yeah, I guess like Riptide is the perfect example of just like a console style game. It's a lot of fun to play with a controller on your big screen TV, and it just looks really great too. So.
That's very nice.
That's really smooth.
Yeah.
How's the latency?
I was gonna say, is the controller responsive? Is it?
I find the controller to be perfectly responsive, but I haven't played much other than GP2, and I'm doing horribly right now. It's a little laggy, but you know what? I'm also monitoring through this, which has lag because it's going through our TriCaster system and everything.
And you have one eye.
And I have one eye. That's right.
But that controller is not real either, right? I
The
they're
controller's a
not gonna
dev.
sell that.
Yeah, it's a dev
Right.
controller, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so be curious to see what others
It's a
come up
shame.
with.
It's a nice controller.
It really
I-
is.
I feel like if they want their gaming idea to be like legit, they need to make their own controller.
I like the
Because I
controller
mean,
a
you
lot.
can't leave it up to like Logitech and all them to make crappy pieces of plastic.
I think it'd be a shame for them not to sell this controller in some way. So you can add it to your wish list on Play. So, so there you go. Android TV.
Now, did everyone get this, or how did this get out?
Long story. Well,
not you, just in general.
Yes.
Yeah,
So basically, you had to go to. They had a living room talk about kind of Android TV, and if you were there, then you got a dev uniform.
Oh, cool. Okay. So there's a reason to go to a session.
Oh yeah, they do that. You never
They
really
do
know
that.
which
You have to
session.
know, right? You have to know which one.
Yeah, and word will kind of like cycle through. Oh, you better go to this one. I hear there's.
I hear there's going to be a giveaway.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's very cool. As a TV enthusiast, and you know, I'm ready. This looks like a nice evolution, and I'm ready to say goodbye to my Google TV. Although that means
Yeah.
I got to buy a Blu-ray player. But
Chromecast built into this as well. So,
cool. So no more dongle.
And you know what I was doing the other day? I had Chromecast through this on the TV, Android Wear, had the notification for the thing that was playing, and I was like, next.
Not even fair.
And
Wow.
And it went. It was
Not
pretty
even
easy.
They had like a secret rebranding of Chromecast at the show. It's Google Cast now.
Google Cast.
And
Yeah.
Chromecast is the little piece of
It's
hardware.
the hardware. That's
and
right.
they never said anything about this. They just started calling it Google Cast one day. Very strange.
Okay, so let's spend a real quick second, man. We're
Yeah,
quickly
geez.
running out of time here. Chrome OS and Android. What did we think about kind of the stuff we saw as far as this is concerned?
It's the question that we always had, which is that, you know, they've got Chrome OS and they've got Android. What are they going to do with it? And they just are continuing to make it even more seamless and just kind of, you know, not really, almost make it like a non-issue. You know, it's almost like waving your hand, like, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Right. These two things work together.
Yep.
We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, right? In Android L, you see tabs in the app switcher, the same weight as regular apps. The API indexing that we talked about, the deep linking into things like Google Earth and Netflix. And then on the Chrome OS side, we saw some crazy stuff like Android apps running on a Chromebook. This was an early demo. This is not released. Haven't seen any other apps besides Evernote, Flipboard, and Vine. Those were the three apps they showed on screen. You saw them running on Chrome. So this is Android apps running on Chrome OS in a little window. It kind of looked like a Chrome extension, like a Hangouts window. We saw it in portrait phone mode and landscape tablet mode, which actually works pretty well given, you know, the Chromebook, the Pixel at least has a touchscreen. Other Chromebooks also have touchscreens. The apps were able to talk to the webcam. So you saw a Vine video of a World Cup fan there taking a video from the desktop. And we also saw a quick demo of Android Chrome OS notification mirroring. So something like you get with Pushbullet, which is an app I really love. You're on your Chromebook, you're on Chrome OS, and you get text messages and phone calls right on your machine. You get notifications of them. They even showed a demo, and I don't know why they included this in the demo. Why, Sundar? But he showed that when your battery is low, you get a notification on Chrome OS saying that your battery is low. And then he was like, "It's such a delightful experience." It was like, never battery alerts a delightful experience. It was just kind of showing this marriage between the two. Oh, and perhaps the coolest thing and maybe the most compelling thing that made me think, like, can I move my entire coding environment to a Chromebook? Android can unlock Chrome OS when it's nearby. So you flip open your Pixel or whatever, and you got your phone on you, and it just knows that it's you and you're there, and you don't have to log in. So really nice marriage between Chrome and Android. I really felt like this was a sub theme. So Android on every screen seemed like the headline theme of the entire I/O for me, and then the Chrome OS or the Chrome and Android marriage felt like this sub theme. So neat stuff.
The demo definitely made me go, oh, I kind of want a Pixel now. It's like, it definitely made me, even though I don't need one and that sort of thing.
Well,
but like,
I was watching that and I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. Could I get that in a browser, please, so I could use it on like my Windows computer or my MacBook or something? I don't. The Pixel is how many years old? It's like a year old or a year and a half.
A year
old
and a half
something,
probably.
And doesn't run Photoshop, so no Pixels.
Right. Yeah. That continues to be my problem with Chrome OS. Is that whether it's Premiere or Photoshop? I'm sorry, Premiere. I didn't mean to mention. I know it's just the sort of thorny side.
It hurts almost as bad as.
I know. I'm sorry, but I like Premiere. We need to talk about that later.
Okay.
But anyway, the whole Adobe Creative Suite. I mean, we haven't really bridged that to the browser side. There's still applications that are intensive to a processor that you need. That's why everybody always complains, why are we on an Android show and I've got a MacBook? It's because I need Photoshop and I need things like that. So that's the one thing keeping me from making the jump. But man, they're making it.
You're not alone.
They're making it, but it looks so nice and seamless. When in the demo, when they pulled Evernote from the phone up to the Chrome OS, that got me. I was like, oh, that's impressive.
There will be. I would guess there will be reasonable involvement with the developer to make it work on Chrome OS. It's not as easy as taking an APK and moving it over on your Chromebook and running it. And hey, Chrome runs Android APKs. I don't believe it's that easy.
Yep.
But yeah, pretty neat.
Well,
pretty interesting.
There's stuff that does that now on Windows. They just have to. I mean, I guess they're just implementing Art. Like, that's the difference between Linux and Android. It was Dalvik or now Art. Is just, kind of the virtual machine that you need to make apps run. So, I mean, I guess when they were making Art, they were just like, yeah, we can get this running on a Chromebook. It's cool. And they just did it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Let's see here. So
some other items.
The everything else block. Let's not dwell on these. Let's just
just blow right through
because
them.
we have to get to apps.
Lightning
Boy.
rounds.
Remember all the hubbub we had about how we were going to say goodbye to Nexus at this I/O and we were going to embrace Android Silver? Yeah, nope. Nexus is not going anywhere. The Nexus line is sticking around. We did get introduced to Android One, which is a new program by Google, which helps to work with OEMs in developing nations to bring Android to developing markets. So, whether it's Africa or South America or wherever else where they're, kind of third world or developing markets, there are a lot of these low cost, much toned down, cheaper kind of cell phones. Android One is a program that Google set up to work with them to put Android on those phones, get them in there. It's really going to help with their global market share, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, the Nexus line is not going anywhere. We'll have a Nexus 6 at some point.
And Android One is stock Android.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
No touches.
Yep. So there you go. So no Silver, Android One, Nexus not going anywhere. Next.
Project Tango. One of the things I wanted to see while I was
excited.
there was Project Tango. I also wanted to be up close and personal to Aura, but I didn't get to see that one.
Was it there?
No, they did they had a talk on the second day where they showed off a lot of Tango and Aura and a few other things. So I didn't get to see it in person, but Tango I did get to play around with a little bit, and I gotta say it was pretty
cool?
neat. Yeah, it was really cool. So they had the Unreal Engine working on it on the demo that I did. I really wanted to do the VR demo, but I didn't get a chance to do that. By the time I heard about that, it was all crowded with people doing VR, and I just was impatient. But so I got to take the tablet, run Unreal mode, and they had this kind of expansive environment running inside Tango. And I basically was walking through the conference hall, but actually navigating through the 3D environment.
Cool.
So it was like I was looking through a window into this virtual environment. It was just kind of a nifty way to kind of illustrate some of the things that Tango can do. But
yeah, Tango is an augmented reality device. As much as they don't really pitch it that way, but it can see where it is in the world. So it's an augmented reality device. And when they shrink that down to like the next version of Google Glass, that will be incredible.
Yeah.
Because then we'll have apps for it and it'll be on your eyeball and that'll be really neat.
Man, you just nailed it. That's exactly it. Yeah. So
when you're
all this
in
time we're
Unreal
like,
mode-
what is Project Tango going to lead to? I think you're exactly right.
When you were in Unreal mode, Jason, so you could see, if there was something on your left or on your right as you were walking, it knew that. And was it like drawing a virtual environment on top of the?
Yeah,
and it wouldn't have led you into a wall.
I was the first person in the first person shooter, essentially. So you know what I mean? Like,
Gotcha.
As I was walking forward, the environment was passing by me, so it was as if I was walking inside and around that environment, even though I was actually walking around inside Google I/O.
That's pretty cool.
So it was just.
And you
really
didn't
great.
look odd at all while you're doing
Oh,
that
I
either.
looked like a total moron, but it was great.
Yeah.
Like imagine putting that into VR goggles and. I suppose you'd have to play it in a field, right? Yeah. But still,
or a padded room or some sort of.
But still very neat. And LG
the
is
game
actually
stuff is silly. When you can see where you are, you can overlay the little Google Maps blue line directly on the road.
Yep. And LG is making a Tango device for 2015. So there you go, coming around the corner. And then Gina, let's see here. What is this last thing here? It's for testing.
Yeah, last thing, Google announced at I/O that they acquired a Purify, which is a testing suite for developers. We've talked a lot about how it's really hard for developers to test their apps across all the different devices, particularly on Android. A Purify lets developers do that, test their apps on a huge range of gadgets or screen sizes and manufacturer gadgets. And it actually also works for iOS devices. Well, Google acquired the company and they're leaving it open as a freemium cross-platform service. So you've got, Apple on stage at WWDC calling Android a toxic hell stew of fragmentation, and then you've got Google saying, okay, we're buying this company that makes it easier for you to combat fragmentation, and also we'll support iOS because there are a few iOS devices as well. So there you go. Easier for developers to test their apps, and that's going to be integrated into Google's developer tools, which are pretty awesome to begin with. But nice to see Google kind of giving developers the tools they need to be productive and not have to buy every phone on the market in order to do that.
That's cool. That's a good acquisition.
Very good stuff. And we were talking about that on the show just a couple of weeks ago about how you test devices across test apps across multiple devices. This hopefully makes it easier. Although a lot of people at I/O were saying it's more of a Band-Aid than anything else, but I'll take it.
So when
I'll take a Band-Aid. I need one.
So when the keynote let out, Sundar gave you guys a watch, and some people went to things, got the Android TV, got the material design stuff. But that wasn't all you guys got, right?
We got a cardboard.
Now, watching from home, that made no sense, by the way. When Sundar says...
It made no sense in the hall. It made no sense in the hall either. Like, everyone was just like, huh, what? Gotta get out of here.
I don't even have
It's really
mine.
late, and we're tired, and we're just trying to get out. But then he said cardboard. There's a hashtag cardboard. We were like, we don't know what that is.
It was
but they
very
hand it to you,
clunky.
like, as your exit. Like, at the door.
I don't even have mine because I was like, whatever, take this piece of cardboard. I don't want it. And just kind of left and went to go find a watch.
Oh, so I'm almost tempted to just leave this sealed because who knows, maybe someday this is gonna be a collector's item, because it was the strangest, like, one more thing that everybody was talking about eventually. Like at a certain point, it was like, did you take a look at this? No, seriously, put this on. And then people put it on and you're like, whoa, and you got the jaw drop moment.
Yeah. So maybe you should leave it sealed and you could put it next to the Nexus Q. And then everything will be great.
There we go.
Yeah.
There's actually an assembled one over there.
Oh, is there? Should I go grab it, or I'll go grab it?
Sure.
Talk it through.
Okay, but basically, yes. So you assemble it. You can see it on the video here. It breaks down from just a tiny little cardboard box into VR goggles. You load an app onto the device, which I don't actually have loaded. I'm sorry, Ron.
It's like Oculus Rift?
Yeah. It's like poor man's Oculus Rift.
Really? Cardboard Oculus Rift.
Yep. And it's effective. It works. And it's kind of crazy. This little knob on the side is how you say okay, how you trigger things. And yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's the weirdest thing in the world, but.
So you put your phone in it.
Yep. You slide your phone in. So I don't
that's
have the
that's
app.
Velcro. So flip that open.
Yeah. So let's see here. So you slip that open.
What is incredibly sad is it's higher resolution than the Oculus Rift that I have.
I don't have my phone on right now, but basically it would put it in there, and then with the app running, it gives you two different views for each, one for each eye. I don't have it.
Because I know. Yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
I know it's
no,
not.
dude. No.
But so yeah, I was like, so the camera's right there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe after the show I'll get it all running.
Is the app in the Play Store?
Holy cow! It.
Yeah, the app is in the Play Store.
I imagine
I'm
it
gonna
is.
install it during the arena. Screw that, man.
All right.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
All right, cool. So there you go. So that's Carboard. And actually, by the way, little trivia. Lin Fu, ex-Twit employee, she works at Google, worked on this project.
Nice.
Saw it on Twitter afterwards. She was like, yay for the Cardboard team. I was like, wait a minute, that was you? Everybody's talking about it. She's like, yep.
There's a team of people that did the cardboard thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally.
I got the app
That's
here on my
thing
phone
they
that
worked
I'm
on.
installing. You can see.
So there we go. Man, I had one more thing.
It's very
but I
large.
don't even know if we have time for one more thing.
It is large.
Yeah.
One more thing. What's the one more thing?
I can't remember. I should have written it down. Whatever. So
It's 188 meg.
What?
It's 188 meg.
Well, it's
Good thing I got LTE.
it's 3D.
Was your one more thing the Moto 360? Do you have one?
Oh man, I wish I did.
I would drop them. I would, no joke. I would. I mean, I feel bad about your eye, but I would snatch and grab, and I'm out the door back to San Francisco. Yeah.
Left hook, right hook, the one he wouldn't see coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy, it's just making my eye hurt worse.
I'm sorry.
Laughing. No, don't make me laugh anymore. So that is Google I/O in a nutshell.
It was
that was a lot.
It was interesting because I feel like it wasn't overwhelming, mind blowing, but it was really impactful. I thought, I thought I from watching from home, again, it was probably one of the better keynotes I've seen of a Google I/O keynote.
Yeah.
It definitely hit a boring as hell point.
Oh my God. The end of that.
Right?
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah,
there,
there was one point where I was like, oh my God, just get on with it, But I mean, I stayed tuned for the whole 2.5 hours, and I watched the whole thing. I made it through that boring part, but I thought it was really well produced. It didn't seem like they had any screw ups, right? I mean, you guys were there.
They
Other
need
than
a
the
movie director.
protesters.
They need somebody who looks at the overall pacing and the timing and just cuts stuff. There's so many things I feel like they really could have cut if they kept it within 2 hours.
Yeah.
And if they had just created a narrative. We're humans, we want a narrative. And it was a little bit hard. I came out of it and I came up to the Twit studio and Sarah was like, hey, how was the keynote? And I was like, I'm not really sure what it was about. I mean, after I thought about it, it's okay, Android everywhere and Chrome and Android, that made sense. But I don't know. It was a good keynote and I enjoyed it, and I was actually kind of surprised. It felt like the people who watched from home were like, that was a snoozer. Mm-hmm. And in the hall, it didn't feel that way. I was excited and I was into
Right.
it. Toward the end, we were all weary, all of us weary.
Yeah.
But I thought for the most part it was a solid keynote. Yeah.
Really
And there was a point at which they were live debugging code, and yes, you're in a room with thousands of developers, and it did smell that way. But at the end, you don't start debugging code live on screen. That's
Street
you gotta.
cred, man.
One of the most famous monuments in the world.
This
What
is
is happening?
crazy.
Yeah. See, there you go.
2,300 rooms.
I'd look too, but I think the effect would be lost on me
No, seriously,
with
it's like glass.
one eye.
Oh, this is nuts.
Yeah.
In terms of the show, I never expected them to launch Android on your TV and your wrist and your car and a new version of L. There was so much in the show. It's just crazy.
Okay, I remember my final thought on this. So this show, as we've talked about, is Android on all the screens and all different initiatives. It's bringing it to your car, bringing it to your wrist, bringing it all these other places. And in many of these places, Google has control of it, right? So do we start to see version numbers suddenly, percentage of adoption of version numbers suddenly take a big jump way earlier now, because A, Google has control over all of these devices that are running these new versions, and B, just the sheer fact that it's not just smartphones anymore. It's the same version of Android pushing to all of these different form factors all across the board. I think it kind of helps in the public perception of Google's kind of issue that always kind of plagues them, which is a new version releases and it takes a year for 15% of people to get it. right? Now,
Yeah,
hopefully, it's more.
The new stuff definitely, but not phones. They can't put that genie back in the bottle. You know,
No, that's a hard
Samsung
one.
has TouchWiz and they have Control, and that's never going away until something big happens. But not this. Ron, are you lost in a
Ron
different
is having
world?
like a glass.
This is so cool. I'm in this Google Earth, and I was like in a city. It's like nuts. This is crazy. This no joke. This is the coolest thing. Like,
Man, I'm having flashbacks right now.
I know, deja vu.
Yeah.
Deja Ron.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I just Wade County
It's
in the chat room
pretty cool.
says do Windy Day. It's an app in here called Windy Day.
Yeah, remember the Motorola thing where you
yep.
move your phone
The
to
hat.
follow the action?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, that's crazy. Look at that.
All right, Ron.
Sorry.
You go ahead and look into Carboard. Crazy. Oddly enough, we still have to do the arena. So let's do that real quick. Like real quick.
So
Quicker than we've ever done it.
But only one lives.
That goal?
Android Arena.
Oh boy. I'm sorry. I'm easily impressed, obviously. But that's pretty cool.
We know.
It's pretty cool.
Let's see here. Results from last week's Android Arena are in, and Break Free wins 37%.
I was shocked that I won. I didn't think I was going to win that one.
Good job.
Nice. Wait, so what are we at? So through week 25, Jason's got 5 wins. I've got 8. Gina's tied with me with 8, and our guests have 4. So Gina, you and I neck and neck.
Oh,
Look at that.
Good thing Comic-Con's this month.
Yeah, exactly. Towel Root, second place, 27%. Lifetime Alarm Clock, 24%. And Abyss Attack at 12%. So does that mean that, Gina, you go first? Or I go first?
Gina goes first.
I was the alarm clock.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
you
you go
Root.
first.
Yeah, you came in second.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you go ahead and go first. I'll go second, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I'm going to plug this in and show it off. Go ahead and talk about it.
All right, cool. So my app pick this week is Wikipedia. This amazing utility you have probably heard of. Wikipedia's Android app just got this huge refresh this past week. The app went native, and it's really, really, really nice. It's super fast. You can edit Wikipedia pages. You can read Wikipedia really fast inside the app. Great native app experience. Works on all different screen sizes. It's got recent pages. So you can kind of see your Wikipedia browsing history. You can set Wikipedia links to open up in the native app. Speaking of sort of app to web browser, parity going back and forth. You can save pages for offline reading, which is really nice, especially if you commute on a subway like I do sometimes. You can share pages. There's different language supports. You can read languages read pages in different languages. It's just a really, really, really beautiful Wikipedia reading, browsing, saving experience. You can log in if you have a Wikipedia account, which I do. I went through. I haven't edited Wikipedia in a long time, but I might start using this app because it's really nice. You have your whole history of your account there. And this app also participates in a thing that I hadn't heard of, but it's called Wikipedia Zero. That means that for participating mobile operators, data charges are waived. So you have access to all this amazing information in Wikipedia in this app. And like I said, they just took this out of beta this week. It's really, really nice app. It's completely free. All of the source code is open source and available if you want to hack on it or check it out. Wikipedia is an incredible, incredible resource. I don't know how the web would exist without it, and I'm really excited about this app. So Wikipedia.
Yeah,
Love it.
I updated it, and it was one of those things where I updated it, but I didn't realize the change, and then I opened it up. I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And got really excited. So it's a great
really,
update.
really nice.
Yeah,
You guys were very brave to hit the random button there on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I can't help it. I can't help it. It's
living
just,
dangerously.
I'm feeling lucky. Let's see. Can I press my luck again?
Oh, there you go. WHD load.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember WHD load. Jeez, wow.
It's software for the Amiga platform, don't you
Yeah.
know? It makes hard disk easier.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Sure.
So there you go. Wikipedia. I agree. I actually had that on Android App Arena a couple of weeks ago, and when it was still in the beta version. The beta version's still on the Play Store, so a little confusing there, but they pushed the changes into this official version, so that's great. Love it. Okay, mine is really simple and really quick. Mine is called Stitch. Stay in touch. If you're like me and you're busy and you have a hard time staying in touch with certain people, this is a way to remind you to do it. So go ahead and launch Stitch. And what it does is it brings up this simple user interface. Now, what it does is it tracks the last time you called somebody. And you can set reminders. So I can say add someone. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's add Tower, because that's a number that I don't mind having shown. Thank you. So now, Tower, I can, have this remind me every 5 days, 3 days, whatever, every year to call this person. It will log the last person. I never call Tower, of course. Tower just doesn't pick up my phone calls. Yeah, I know, it's sad. But you can, set in here. Actually, I spoke with Tower on June 1st, so it's all good. And talk every 2 months. And then what'll happen is you'll actually get a reminder. And am I getting it right now?
So many notifications now.
I know, too many. And, of course, I'm not getting the reminder that I need to be getting. I was getting it earlier. I may have accidentally dismissed it. You probably dismissed it when you were playing around with my...
Honestly, I probably did.
Wearable.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. But anyways, you get a reminder, essentially. It'll track the last time you talked to somebody, and it'll remind you to stay in touch with that person.
Stapulated in the chat room sums it up pretty well. I think says it's a CRM for your personal life.
There you go.
Which is very accurate.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's pretty cool.
So I know the developer of this app. Actually, shared a office space with me, and I got to sit sort of next to him while he was working on it.
Oh, cool.
And I was gonna pick it for the arena at some point, but then I was like, whatever. I was trying it out and waiting, but it's a really cool app. I like the idea. And a couple times he kind of tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Can you help me fix this?" So I got to work with him a little bit on the source code on that. So that was
awesome.
Fun.
Cool. I
Yeah.
love it when it works out like that. Yeah, I mean, I need a reminder for these kind of things, apparently. And it's a pretty simple app. It's one of those apps that does one thing very well. So if you need help getting in touch with people on a regular basis, like apparently I do, get Stitch. Do a search for Stitch Stay in Touch, and you'll find it in the Play Store. All right, Ron A, actually, let's see here, because Ron,
I won,
you won,
yeah.
so you're going last.
I get the
Now,
rest.
Ron, you may have picked the app that I've spent the most money on to show it off. So
come on. There's been other Square games on here, hasn't there?
I don't know if we've shown.
No, we
off
actually
Square games,
haven't.
actually.
Yeah, we're kind of
Really?
We're cheap.
Yeah, we shy away at anything more than like $2.99, I think. Yeah.
Oh man.
No, I'm happy that you did it though, because it gave me a reason to get it, and I'll feature it on the other show probably at some point too. So go ahead and talk about it, and I'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't have to download even more stuff, because it was a big download initially.
It might. So my app is The World Ends With You from Square. It's Square Enix, whatever. But it's the Nintendo DS game that was out a couple years ago. It's a JRPG. It's really, really fun and stylish, and it's like I hate all these casual Android games, and this is like a legit, real Nintendo DS game with a big story and all these cool little cutscenes and awesome music. And it's pretty long too. So the only thing is it's super, super expensive. It's like $17,
Right,
or something like that. But a couple years ago, I paid $40 for it on the Nintendo DS. So I feel like if you want good video games on mobile, $18. If you want good video games on mobile, you have to pay prices for this, because even then, development like this used to cost $40, and now it's half price. So it's fun though.
I guarantee you, it's better than this initialization complete screen
Yeah.
here. So let's see here. So we finally got it kind of routed through. And so I think you pointed out it is a little bit more expensive, but it's console quality games, and that's one thing that Square Enix has been really good about on Android. And I hope that we can kind of see more games that kind of take this approach, the high quality console style game. And like you say, you're going to probably have to pay a little bit more for it to get it.
But it has a really cool combat system, and just an awesome story and awesome music, and it's a very high quality Square game.
Okay.
I don't get people, Jason.
What?
Never have, never will.
Never have, never will.
It seems very emo. It seems very
All right.
It's cool.
Well, it's a JRPG. The character's always emo. He always has some kind of problem with the world.
So let's see here. So that is The World Ends With You, Square Enix, $17.99 in the Play Store. And then the other Ron.
My app. So this is an app, quite often we've seen a lot of apps get developed for iOS, and our friends with iPhones rave about them and talk about them, and you're just waiting for them to come to Android. Well, this week, an app that I've been waiting a long time for because I had so many friends raving about it on the iOS platform finally came to Android. It's in the alarm clock category. It is called Sleep Cycle Alarm Clock. And it is a very interesting use of your phone's hardware combined with a way to wake you up. Basically, the way it works is, and I guess we won't do the fancy plug-in. I'll just show you all on the app, but on the phone. We want to try?
Sure.
Let's see. Let's see if it works. Chad, is that working for you?
Pop through here in a second, probably.
Yeah, nothing yet. Nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Well, I have faith. There we go.
There we go. Okay, cool. So with Sleep Cycle Alarm Clock, what it basically does is, I'll go to the little tutorial. It utilizes your phone physically on your mattress, and it uses the accelerometer in your phone to detect when you toss and turn, or basically what your sleep state is. And not only is it an alarm clock that gradually wakes you up, as opposed to, I'm a very bad alarm clock person. Give me a loud blaring klaxon and jump me out of bed. And it's a very jarring way to start the day. The way this alarm clock works is they recommend about 30 minutes. And what it does is, so if you have to get up at 6 a.m., the alarm starts going off at 5:30, and it just does a kind of gentle, kind of quiet, kind of music that you can choose from. And when you tap your phone, it just snoozes, and it doesn't do anything for another 10 minutes. And then it slowly wakes you up, and the music gets louder and louder. But after you've slept, what it can do is it can give you some statistics. So you can track your sleep quality. So, for example, this was my night last night. So I went to bed around 11:30 or so. I fell asleep. I was, kind of in normal sleep, whatever. And I actually remember waking up at 2 a.m. I totally woke up at 2 a.m. and looked at what time it was. And then I fell back asleep, and I didn't hit deep sleep until like 4. And then sadly, I woke up at 5:30, and that was it. So, so that's what my sleep cycle looked like last night. As you use this app every night, it can give you a larger view of what your nights are like, and you can work, because I just installed it yesterday, so it's it doesn't have the full data, but it can tell you what your sleep quality is, and that tells you what you need to do in order to. Clearly, I'm having restless nights. Why am I having restless nights? You can answer all those questions about your life. But so in the settings, you can choose whether or not to set an alarm. There's a whole bunch of different songs that you can choose from. That are different kind of music, the typical standard type thing. You can choose whether to vibrate it or not. You can adjust the snooze. So, for example, they recommend intelligent snoozing, which is basically it will detect your wake-up phase and will keep snoozing until it decides that you're awake. And that's recommended about 30 minutes. I tried that last night, and I found out that I take the first time it went off, I was wide awake, so I need to adjust that personally. You can change your wake up phase from 30 minutes. I'm gonna probably slow mine down to 10 minutes. And then you can also, if you want, you can have it when it wakes you up, be able to add notes to your sleep, where you can basically say, I drank a lot of coffee today, or worked out today, or whatever, to see how that affects your sleep. And it also you can choose whether you want to be prompted to be asked about your mood when you wake up. So you want to wake up, it goes, hey, how you feeling? Which I turned off because nobody wants to know how I'm feeling when I wake up. But so when you actually set the alarm, it's very iOS-y. It's not hollow-y, which is probably good because it's, we're moving a material. But, uses the kind of dialers to pick the time you want to wake up. You'll notice here that if I say I want to wake up at 7:15, it's going to say wake up between 7:05 and 7:15 because I told it my wake up phase was 10 minutes. If I adjusted this to 30 minutes, the wake up would have started 30 minutes earlier than my actual wake up time. If you try to set the alarm, I tried to set it here for 7:15 p.m. It's going to say, don't you mean a.m.? And I'm just going to say, okay. But so basically you can do it. And this is the screen when you're sleeping. And then basically what it wants you to do is it wants me to put the phone face down in the bed. It keeps telling me to do that, and then it will turn off, and then it will slowly start waking up, and I can't really demo it. But here it is. It wakes me up. It says, good morning. And so now snooze is on for another 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so I can go back to sleep, and then it will get a little louder and then a little louder. If I just want to wake up, I can just slide it to wake up, and then we're ready to go. So, so sleep cycle alarm clock. It's a great alarm clock. It's an interesting way to wake up a little more gently into the world, but also it's a way to track the data related to your sleep. So you can find out how well of a night's sleep you're getting.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So
cool.
I had heard a lot about that app, actually. I'm happy you showed that off.
Finally on Android.
Yep.
So,
Sleep cycle alarm clock, $1.99. All right. So 4 apps: Wikipedia, Stitch, Stay in Touch, The World Ends With You, and Sleep Cycle Alarm Clock. Let your voice be heard. Go to AAApoll.com/168 and vote for your favorite app this week. And just taking a look real quick, just because I like to do that. Wow. It's a 4-horse race at this point. They're all at the same.
3 votes.
So
across.
apparently this could go any way, as I think I say every single week.
We're just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
I love it. How symmetrical. All right, we'll check in on that next week. And as for this week, that about does it.
This was a show.
Jam-packed episode.
Yeah.
Ron Amadio, thank you as always for joining us, and particularly
Anytime.
on this episode. I really appreciate you swinging in semi-last minute. I think I asked you yesterday because I wasn't sure if I was even going to be here or not. So really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was my first I/O this year too, so I got to meet everybody. I got to meet you. That was awesome. We hung out and did stuff, so it was very cool.
Yes.
Who was it a band play? I didn't hear any chatter. Was the party?
The party was in Yerba Buena, and it was local indie bands.
Oh yeah.
Actually,
nice.
the party was way better than any of the.
Yeah, I
other
saw
years
you.
that I've
I
been
saw you
to.
posted that it was better than any other year.
Because it felt like a party. It didn't feel like this weird
Forced
collection
event.
of people in this gigantic, dark, warm, muggy room with Jane's Addiction playing for money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's cool.
Which is kind of how it's felt in the past. Anyways, Ron, where can people follow you online, find your work, all that kind of stuff?
Everything is on arstechnica.com. You can Google Plus is plus Ron Amadio that you see down there. Twitter is also the same thing, Ron Amadio. And what did I just do? I just did the Wear reviews up. We have dueling Wear reviews, hardware and software. And I just got done my Android L battery tests. And you can go read Android history if you have like a few weeks to kill. So.
Read it over time. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
You do great work at Ars Technica, and I know a lot of people love your insight because you just you have a very just a great perspective, and you go into a lot of detail. So I appreciate
Thank you.
that.
And you nailed it with your I/O coverage. Afterwards, I read everything that you did on the I/O stuff, and I was like, wow, Ron did. If I couldn't be there, you were the other Ron I would want to be at I/O. Yeah. So
thank you.
You were the other Ron. Anyways, thank you, and we will of course have you back real soon. And what about you, Ron? The other Ron.
The other Ron. Well, I wasn't at I/O because I was behind my desk at Image Comics, helping to make some comic books and prepare for the San Diego Comic-Con. You can go to imagecomics.com where you can see all the fun comic books there, and you can download digital comics and see how many times I can say the word comics in one word. And if you like my musings, you can go to about.me/RonXO, and that's where I've got links to my Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Google Plus and all that fun stuff. Or you can go to ronxo.thinkup.com to see my greatest hits on ThinkUp, which are always a treat because apparently people like what I say there. But I don't know. It's nonsense. A lot of World Cup talk. Sorry. So
That's okay. So what is this ThinkUp thing, Gina? I want to know more.
Hey, ThinkUp is a thing I work on. It's my company and it's our first product, and you should check it out. ThinkUp.com. That's what I'm working on when I'm not here on the Twit network. But I am also, in addition to All About Android, I'm the co-host of This Week in Google, which also has a little bit of Android talk on it on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And you should come watch tomorrow afternoon. That's on Wednesdays. And you can see everything else I'm working on and what I'm up to at ginatrapani.org.
Radical. Do check it out. Chad. Interim Brian.
He's back.
I'm still here. I haven't left.
Still rocking the eye patch. I appreciate that, man.
I am.
See,
in
Chad lights
solidarity.
himself correctly.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh.
You're not sitting in the shadows.
To be honest, I'm actually not. I'm supposed to have more, but with the eye patch, I feel like it's a little bit too much.
What have you been up to, Chad? I feel like you are a man about the world.
There's
now.
a lot that's so I had to leave the show, a few months ago, and
without saying goodbye, mind you. Also,
I thought I was going to, but then I just left.
I know. I
had vacation the next week.
You had plans.
I know. Whatever.
But since leaving the show, I now do the GizWiz. I now host Reddit Up, which is a new show.
Yeah, good show.
OMG Craft is still rocking it. I've been doing a lot more on my own YouTube, youtube.com/OMGChad, and I'm still producing Twit Twig and Mac Break Weekly, and then I video switch Triangulation on Monday. That's what I do.
Man, how old are you these days? How old are you these days?
How
Chad?
old am I these days?
Yeah.
These days I'm 25.
20. Man, I would give anything to be 25 again. Wow, all that energy.
The world is your oyster.
I know. Enjoy it. Enjoy yourself, Chad.
Thanks. Jason, what do you have coming up? What do you have to plug?
When you're 25, you're probably not wearing an eye patch. For real.
You rocked it, man. You rocked it, though. You owned it.
You did.
I can't wait to take this thing off. Although I learned earlier today that Chad has a fear of bad eyes. So
yeah. That's like my one phobia is eye things. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of eyes. I'm afraid of things happening to eyes.
Yeah, well, something happened to this eye.
Yeah.
You can find me at about.me/Jason Howell. Follow my musical exploits at yellowgoldmusic.com. Actually, just got the mastered version of a Misfits cover album that me and my friends
I can't wait to hear this.
So
That's
we're
awesome.
going to be putting that out pretty soon. I'll probably post something on yellowgoldmusic.com about that. It's really great. It was a lot of fun. And as for this show, that is it. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of All About Android. You can leave us a voicemail, 347-SHOW-AAA. You can always send us I didn't realize. You can always send us an email at aaa@twit.tv. You can...
now it just looks like aviators.
I know. Maybe this is the way to go. Find us on Twitter. We are at Android Show. On Reddit, we have a subreddit, twitaaa.reddit.com. Find show notes and past episodes at twit.tv/AAA, as well as YouTube, iTunes, all over the place. And finally, you can catch us live every Tuesday starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, live.twit.tv. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week on another episode of All About Android.